21 killed in Russia's missile attack on Ukrainian city. India to head into election phases starting on the 19th of April. Good afternoon, I'm Jessica Lee and this is World Today. Russian missiles pounded Ukraine's Black Sea port city of Odessa on Friday, killing more than a dozen people, including rescue workers, in an attack President Volodymyr Zelensky described as vile. Now, local authorities said Russian aerial bombardments struck residential buildings, ambulances and a gas pipeline, leaving at least 20 people dead and wounding another 73 people, including rescuers. Zelensky said Russian forces had launched a type of attack known as a double-tap strike on the port hub, with the second projectile plowing into rescue workers at the scene. City officials said Moscow targeted Odessa with Iskander missiles launched from the Crimean Peninsula, annexed by Russia in 2014. The strikes came on the first day of presidential elections in Russia, which is also hosting the vote in several occupied regions of Ukraine. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, as well as more than 50 member states, slammed Moscow for holding the vote in parts of Ukraine, with Guterres saying that the attempted illegal annexation of those regions has no validity under international law. Now, Friday's attack was just the latest in a series of fatal barrages between Kiev and Moscow as polls opened across Russia. Now, efforts towards a truce in the Israel-Hamas war appeared to rekindle on Saturday after a new proposal from the Palestinian group, which also called for more aid into Gaza, where the first food shipment by sea reached shore. Israel said it would send a delegation to Qatar for a new round of talks on a possible deal. It also advanced plans for a military operation in Rafah, where most of Gaza's population has sought refuge from more than 5 months of war and deprivation. The U.S. charity World Central Kitchen said its team had finished unloading almost 200 tons of food, the first shipment to arrive on new maritime aid corridor from Cyprus. The Cypriot government said that a second aid ship, the Jennifer, would depart soon, although World Central Kitchen later said rough weather made it hard to predict when the vessel, carrying 240 tons of food, would set sail. The United Nations has reported particular difficulty in accessing North Gaza to distribute food and other aid. Now, Gaza residents say they have resorted to eating wild plants and animal fodder, and some have stormed the few aid trucks that have made it through. Now, with this situation increasingly dire, donors have turned to deliveries by air or sea. Multiple governments have begun daily aid airdrops over Gaza, while the new maritime corridor is to be complemented by a U.S. military-built temporary pier. But UN said that air and sea missions are no alternative to land deliveries. Humanitarians have cited Israeli restrictions as among the obstacles they face. At the same time, Gaza Health Ministry said at least 63 people had been killed over the previous 24 hours. Meanwhile, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz urged Israel on Saturday to allow humanitarian aid access to Gaza on a larger scale ahead of a 2-day trip to West Asia. Now, Scholz will travel to the Jordanian Red Sea port of Aqaba on Saturday to meet on Sunday with Jordan's King Abdullah before flying on to Israel to meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He also voiced concern about Israel's planned offensive in the southern Gaza city of Rafah, where more than half of the Palestinian enclave's population of 2.3 million have taken shelter.
Wir haben eine schwierige Situation. Es ist notwendig, dass jetzt Hilfe in größerem Umfang nach Gaza gelangt. Das wird ein Thema sein, über das ich auch zu sprechen habe. Wir machen uns Sorgen über den weiteren Fortgang der militärischen Entwicklung. Insbesondere ist die Gefahr, dass bei einer umfassenden Offensive in Rafah das zu sehr vielen furchtbaren zivilen Opfern kommt, was unbedingt vermieden werden muss. Und deshalb ist auch das etwas, worüber zu sprechen sein wird. Zu sprechen wird sein auch über eine langfristige Perspektive, die Frage, wie ein friedliches Miteinander eines palästinensischen Staates und Israels gelingen kann.
Germany's Air Force said it dropped pallets with 4 tons of relief goods by air into the enclave on Saturday. Israel's air and ground campaign in Gaza has killed more than 30,000 Palestinians, displaced most of the population, and left people in dire need of food and other essentials. Now, India will begin voting in phases starting 19th of April to elect a new parliament in the world's largest election, in which nearly 1 billion people are eligible to cast ballots. The election pits two-term strongman Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his regional allies against a bickering alliance of 24 opposition parties, with surveys suggesting a comfortable win for Modi's Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party, or the BJP.
We'll do it in 7 phases, as was done last time. 7 phases. Phase 1 will start from 20th March notification, 5 days from now. And last date of withdrawal would be 30th March and date of poll would be 19th of April.
The country's election authority said nearly 970 million people are registered to vote at over 1 million polling stations in the mammoth electoral exercise, with 2,400 political parties likely to contest. Now, voting will be staggered over 7 stages between 19th of April and 1st of June, and ballots from around the country will be counted all at once on the 4th of June and are usually announced on the same day. Now, many consider Modi's re-election a foregone conclusion, owing to both the Premier's robust popularity a decade after taking office and a glaringly uneven playing field. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro will seek a third term in 28th of July elections after 11 years in office, marked by sanctions, economic collapse, and accusations of widespread repression. The 61-year-old said that they will go for the victory as he accepted his ruling PSUV party's official nomination to be its candidate in elections from which the state apparatus has excluded his main rival, the favorite in opinion polls. There was no challenger from within the Chavista movement, in power for 25 years and named for Maduro's popular predecessor, Hugo Chavez. Maduro will have served 18 years as president of the once prosperous South American country at the end of a third successive term. Since 2013, he has presided over a severe economic crisis worsened by U.S. sanctions that has seen 7 million people flee the country as GDP plummeted by 80% in a decade. Now, with backing from a system of political patronage and the military, as well as Cuba, Russia, and China, he has consolidated power over parliament, the judiciary, and other state institutions, and jailed and neutralized critics and challengers. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, who polls show would beat the incumbent in a fair race, has been disqualified by Maduro-aligned courts on charges of corruption widely dismissed as spurious and for supporting Western sanctions against the regime. Three people were killed by gunfire in 2 shootings in a Philadelphia suburb Saturday, and the suspect fled and remains barricaded in a house in Trenton, New Jersey. They said the suspect, identified as 26-year-old Andre Gordon, who was believed to be homeless, had stolen a vehicle before killing his 52-year-old stepmother and his 13-year-old sister in a home in the Falls Township of Levittown. Bucks County District Attorney Jennifer Shorn said 3 people in the house managed to hide as he went through the house searching for them. The suspect then drove to another nearby residence where he shot and killed a woman with whom he has 2 children before using his rifle butt to bludgeon the woman's mother. He then went to the parking lot of a nearby discount store where he carjacked a Honda utility vehicle from a 44-year-old man before fleeing. The man was not injured. The suspect then drove across the state line to nearby Trenton, New Jersey, where he remains holed up in a house, now surrendered by police officers. The people who had been in the house at the time have been successfully evacuated with no injuries. The suspect is believed to be armed with an AR-15 style assault rifle, and police described him as extremely dangerous. Because the suspect crossed state lines, federal authorities, including the FBI, are aiding in the matter. Thailand's Prime Minister yesterday promised to tackle air pollution as he visited tourism hotspot Chiang Mai, which had among the world's worst air quality for the 2nd day in a row. Now, the picturesque historic city is hugely popular with visitors, but annually suffers dire air quality in the early months of the year when farmers burn crops. Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin, who is on a 4-day northern tour, acknowledged his government needs to tackle the smog. His visit came as Chiang Mai topped air monitoring website IQ Air's list of the world's most polluted cities for the 2nd consecutive day. The levels of PM 2.5 pollutants, small enough to enter the bloodstream through the lungs, were at 224 on Saturday afternoon, 20 times higher than the World Health Organization's guidelines. Earlier, Srettha visited the Command Center for Wildfires and PM 2.5 prevention in the city's Mai Thang district. Now, after meeting with workers, he told reporters he was working with local authorities to study the impact of transnational haze. He added that he would impose regulations on farmers who burnt stubble without giving further details. Icelandic police declared a state of emergency late Saturday as lava spewed from a new volcanic fissure on the Reykjanes Peninsula, the 4th eruption to hit the area since December. Iceland's Department of Civil Protection and Emergency Management announced it had sent a helicopter to narrow down the exact location of the new fissure. According to the IMO, the fissure occurred close to the same location as the previous eruption on the 8th of February. Now, lava appeared to flow south towards the dikes built to protect the fishing village Grindavik. Lava was also flowing west, and the length of the fissure was estimated to be 2.9 kilometers. Minutes before the eruption, the agency had issued a statement saying that seismic activity indicated that there was an increased chance of an eruption. On Friday, the IMO said that magma was accumulating underground in the area, which could end with a new magma intrusion and possibly an eruption. Local media reported that Iceland's famed Blue Lagoon geothermal spa had been evacuated, as well as Grindavik. The roughly 4,000 residents of Grindavik were only cleared to return to their homes on the 19th of February after having been evacuated on the 11th of November, though only around 100 chose to do so. As of Friday, more than 300 of the town's inhabitants had put in requests to sell their house to the state. The eruptions on the Reykjanes Peninsula have also raised fears for the Svetsengi power plant, which supplies electricity and water to around 30,000 people. Up next. And starting off our sports segment this afternoon, Aaron Chia and So Woo-yik are just a step away from ending Malaysia's 17th year wait for the men's doubles crown at the 2024 All England Badminton Championships after confirming their spot in the final early this morning. The 2022 World Champions capitalized on mistakes from Lee Jie-hui, Yang Po-xuan from Taiwan to bag a 21-16, 21-15 straight set win in 1982. Moving on to football, the English FA League. Bernardo Silva scored twice as Manchester City beat Newcastle 2-0
to reach the FA Cup semi-finals last night, while Coventry struck twice in stoppage time to stun Wolves 3-2. Now, holders City remain on course to repeat their treble triumph of Premier League, Champions League and FA Cup last season as Pep Guardiola's men stretched their unbeaten run in all competitions to 22 games.
Fortune favoured the English champions though, as twice Silva's shot took deflections to wrong-foot Newcastle goalkeeper Martin Dubravka. The Portuguese international opened the scoring on 13 minutes when his effort looped in off Dan Burn. Silva's second deflected off Sven Botman, but Dubravka should still have done better as the ball trickled underneath him. Now, at the other end, City's #1 goalkeeper Edison was not missed as Stefan Ortega produced a brilliant save to deny Alexander Isak pulling a goal back for Newcastle. Dubravka made amends for his earlier error with fine saves from Jeremy Doku either side of halftime to keep the score down. But it was too little too late for Newcastle's hopes of silverware this season, as the Magpies remain without a major trophy since 1969. The City are the first side to ever reach the FA Cup semi-finals in 6 consecutive seasons.
Meanwhile, Coventry reached their first semi-final since they won the competition for the only time in 1987 in a 5-goal thriller at Molineux. Now, the Sky Blues led early in the second half through Ellis Sims' controversial opener after a VAR check for potential handball by the Coventry striker.
The championship side looked to have blown their chance to reach Wembley when Wolves themselves scored twice in the final 7 minutes of the 90. Ryan Adnuri pounced on an error from Joel Latibeaudier to smash home the equaliser and then set up his fellow left-back Hugo Bueno to fire into the bottom corner for his first senior goal. However, Sims' second goal of the match levelled in the 97th minute before he teed up American international Haji Wright to fire into the corner 3 minutes later. Wembley awaits once more in the last 4, but Coventry manager Mark Robbins is realistic of his side's chances of glory, with the likes of City or Liverpool potentially waiting in the semis. Liverpool travel to Manchester United in the pick of Sunday's quarter-final ties, while Chelsea host Leicester tonight.
Over in Saudi Arabia, Al Hilal stretched their lead at the top of the league to 12 points following a stoppage time winner by Brazilian Michael against 10-man Denmark. Now, with the win, Al Hilal extend their winning streak to 29 in a row in all competition.
Hilal are without their star player Neymar, who is expected to return to the field between July and August after medical staff said the Brazilian showed good progress on his knee injury. Now, back on the field, both teams tried their level best, performing attack after attack on one another, but failed to produce any goal. In the second half, Hilal continued their effort to break the deadlock before finally scoring a goal in the 79th minute through Salim Al-Dawsari's left foot strike, courtesy of Milinkovic-Savic's cross into the box. However, Denmark levelled through Domagoj Antolic in the 86th minute. 2 minutes later, Dari Al-Anazi showed a red card for foul on Michael. Al Hilal secured the winner in the 93rd minute through Michael's powerful header. Meanwhile, Al Ittihad beat Al Fateh 4-2 thanks to goals from Abdulrazak Hamdallah, Jota and Ahmed Al Ghamdi. The home side took the lead in the 6th minute through left-back Salim Al Najdi before Hamdallah levelled the game from the spot. Jota gave Al Ittihad the lead in the first half stoppages before Al Ghamdi netted his team's third in the 64th minute with a great curling strike from the edge of the box. 2 minutes later, substitute Saad Al Shurafa gave renewed hope for fans after he pulled a goal back for the home side as he chested the ball down in the area and turned before firing off a quick shot into the net. In the 74th minute, Hamdallah bagged his second on the night to regain Al Ittihad's 2-goal advantage. And 3 minutes later, Al Ittihad right back Madalla Al Olayan was given a second yellow and his marching orders. Al Fateh failed to take advantage of the extra man, and the game ended 4-2 to the away side.
In rugby news, Ireland retained their Six Nations title with a hard-fought 17-13 win over Scotland after Warren Gatland offered to quit as Wales boss following a home defeat by Italy that condemned his side to a tournament whitewash. Now, France finished in second place after edging England 33-31 in a thrilling final match on Super Saturday.
Irish hopes of back-to-back Grand Slams had been dashed by last week's dramatic 23-22 loss to England at Twickenham. But Ireland knew that if they avoided defeat or secured 2 bonus points against Scotland's side fresh from a 31-29 defeat by Italy in Rome, they would keep hold of the title. Now, Scotland were bidding for their first triple crown when one of England, Scotland and Ireland and Wales beats each of those other teams in a single championship season since 1990. And the Scots produced a mammoth defensive effort in Dublin that threatened to frustrate Ireland.
Marielle Thompson of Canada extended her lead at the top of the FIS World Cup ski cross standings after winning the latest round held in Vaisona, Switzerland on Saturday.
Thompson claimed her 5th victory of the season when she finished ahead of compatriots Brittany Phelan and India Sherratt to move 72 points clear of Frenchwoman Marielle Berger-Sabatel, who was 4th in the race with 2 rounds of the season remaining. Phelan is 3rd overall, a further 86 points behind. In the men's event, Swede David Moerberg won his 2nd race of the season ahead of Alex Fever of Switzerland, with Germany's Florian Wilsmann back in 3rd. Fever's 2nd place put him into the lead in the World Cup standings despite not having won a race this season. He has 628 points, overtaking Canada's Rhys Howden by 47. Moerberg is 3rd, just 1 point behind, with Wilsmann 4th, 6 points further back. The season for both women and men will be completed with a double header at Idre Fjord in Sweden next weekend.
Artistic, historic stories await next in World Around Us.
Billed as the place where art meets technology, New York's latest museum is promising to reinvent the format with an immersive and sensory experience. The Mercer Labs Museum of Art and Technology features works by Roy Nachum, a painter, sculptor, and sound and light designer.
The last 5 years, we decided that we would like to do a new museum, a new approach of museum, a space that people can be engaged, immersive exhibitions, but do it very seriously and take it to the next level.
Mercer Labs is perfectly positioned to be Instagram and TikTok catnip, like many of the New York sites open in recent years, including the panoramic views from the Vanderbilt Towers Summit 1, as well as the One World Trade Center and the Edge skyscrapers. The collection of installations redefines the museum experience through 15 interactive exhibition spaces, unique listening encounters, and immersive installations where the relationship between art and technology is challenged. Visitors are invited into a darkened room where Nachum's videos, photos, and holograms are projected onto the walls, floor, and ceiling, lending the space a nightclub atmosphere complete with smoke machine and DJ beats. In the Dragon's Lair, 500,000 LED lamps flicker in time to convince visitors they are in the presence of mythical creatures. At the Tel Abraq archaeological site and off a buzzing UAE highway, archaeologists discovered golden coins and artifacts that are estimated to be 2,000 years old. Now, experts at the ancient site have discovered what they believed were an imitation of Roman gold coins dating to the 1st century AD, as well as 2 Stoic statues and an inscription in Aramaic.
No other gold coins were ever found in controlled excavation. And these are very important also because they tell us about the context of the site with the surrounding world. You know, these coins were circulating in the 1st century AD.
Degli Imposti added that these coins were circulating in the 1st century AD. They are imitation of coins minted in the Roman Empire in France, in Lyon precisely, under the reign of Emperor Tiberius between 17 and 31 AD. The site, which lies between Sharjah and Al-Quwain, is considered one of the most important archaeological sites in the UAE, dating back to 2500 BC until 300 AD.
It's interesting that we can now correlate the context of these coins where they were found with other very important finds which also are unique to the region. For example, we discovered 2 stone statues and also an inscription. And the statues, they recall examples from Syria, from southern Mesopotamia, from, for example, the famous town of Palmyra and Hatra. And this also supports the reconstruction of commerce throughout the Arabic Gulf in the 1st centuries AD.
And that concludes our bulletin for this afternoon. In our top story today, 21 killed, 73 others wounded in Russia's missile attack on Ukrainian city. Join us tonight at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM for more news. Till then, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm Jessica Lee. Thank you for watching.